Hello, America. Welcome. It is Erick Erickson here across the United States. The phone number, 877-973-7425. We got a lot to cover, though. My apologies if I can't get to your phone call. You can text Erick, Erick, to get the show notes, the live stream, the podcast. I told Charlie probably only want to podcast this hour because the first 2 hours have been the live coverage of the inauguration. And now I actually want to spend some time walking backwards and getting to this point. One of the reasons, obviously, that Donald Trump is now again president of the United States is because the Biden team decided to give into the worst impulses of the left when it came to immigration and the economy. See, one of the things that the left has long believed is that we as a people are beyond a nation. And the upper echelons of the progressive elite believe that nations and borders no longer matter. This is a problem in Europe. It's a problem in the United States that you just don't believe that the border matters anymore. That we're a world of people. We are citizens of the world. We belong to the United Nations. The United States of America is somewhat irrelevant. And that's a view of the elite who have passports and private jets or means to travel first class whenever they want around the world. But for you, me, and the middle class and everybody else, we view ourselves as citizens of the United States. I'm not a citizen of the world. I'm a citizen of the United States of America. And I say this as someone who's gone through multiple passports in my life and been to way more countries than most of these global elite. I grew up overseas, but I'm an American. They devalued the idea of a border. They have devalued the idea of a nation state, and it has allowed in mass immigration, illegal or otherwise. They've changed the wording now. The American media elite refuse to say illegal immigrant. They say undocumented alien or undocumented worker. They can't bring themselves to use the language of the ordinary citizen. And then with the economy, they decided we were so wealthy, we were so prosperous, they could just print money. And we wouldn't have inflation. We wouldn't have problems. We could just spend our way out of all the problems. And if we wanted to, just tax the rich. And that would solve everything. Their house of cards came tumbling down. They realized that Americans are Americans. We're not citizens of the world. We're Americans, and we want secure borders. And Americans realized their ideas were nonsense. But the left and its institutions, they have been embracing insanity. These people, we've seen a rise in mental health issues, and the data does overwhelmingly show that the two groups of people in this country suffering the most mental health problems are progressive white women and progressive white men. More than any other group, progressives are suffering mental health issues. Black, white, you name it, progressives are suffering mental health issues, and white progressives are suffering worse than all others. You see, it turns out when you put your trust in God Almighty, you realize you're not God. He is God, you are not. And so you understand there are things that aren't in your control. There are things you don't have to get worked up about. There are things you can't change. You can pray. Maybe God will change them. You accept, you find contentment with what God has given you. And when you decide that you are God, you are a God, you create the world. And what's happening? The world is kind of spinning out of control. You feel a little helpless. You get a little angry. You get a little neurotic. And you try to find things that you can control. One of the crazy things the left decided they can control is basic science. And the way they control it is to censor everyone. One of Donald Trump's first acts today has been to sign an executive order saying there will be male and there will be female. He shouldn't have to sign an executive order. It's just science. It's biology. But he must, because the elite in this country, the left, they lost their minds. Think about Friday. We are now Monday, January 20th. Donald Trump is now, again, president of the United States. On Friday, by tweet, Joe Biden claimed the Constitution had been amended and the Equal Rights Amendment that Ruth Bader Ginsburg herself said was not ratified. Joe Biden declared it ratified. The American Bar Association came out and declared it ratified. The dean of the Georgetown Law School came out and declared it was ratified. And you know, the funny part is that the dean of Georgetown Law School, who declared the 28th Amendment was the Equal Rights Amendment, 2 years ago testified that it couldn't be ratified, and now suddenly comes out with the horde, with the mob of the left, and says it's the law of the land. It's not the law of the land. They've lost their minds. They're broken. They're mentally ill people. And Americans finally realize that, look, they don't necessarily like Donald Trump. They don't necessarily care for a lot of his supporters, but they realize these aren't the crazy people. And we would rather have them, whether we like them or not. We'd rather have them than we would rather have the institutionally mentally ill people in charge. On CNN, on MSNBC, ABC, CBS, NBC, at the New York Times, the Washington Post, you got a bunch of crazy people who believe boys can become girls, who believe that borders don't matter, who believe that we can just print money and spend our way out of problems. People have kind of had enough of the crazy. And what does Joe Biden do on his way out the door? Gives preemptive pardons to a whole bunch of people. 4 years ago, Joe Biden said you can't do that. 4 years ago, Joe Biden said it's not possible. This is Joe Biden. Can I play this again with on Jake Tapper's show? Yeah, the video doesn't want to pull up on me for all of a sudden. But 4 years ago, Joe Biden says that you can't pardon preemptively. It would be a terrible precedent. Under his administration, it would never happen. And now he says, I'm going to preemptively pardon my whole family, the Biden crime family. All these Democrats who for 4 years said it would be a bridge too far are suddenly now going to embrace it. They can turn on a dime because they're nuts. They're not having a good time. And now they're deeply angry because you know who really won on Election Day? What really won on Election Day? The truth. The truth won. The truth is that there are only two sexes, two genders, male and female. And Americans reaffirmed it. The truth is that Joe Biden is mentally incompetent, and the White House covered it up for 4 years. And the American people saw it with their own eyes, and yet the media chose to gaslight them, chose to deny it. Do not believe your lying eyes. The American people have had enough of crazy being in charge. I was willing to support Donald Trump. I'm not a fan of Donald Trump. Some of you to this day get mad at me for being willing to criticize Donald Trump. I criticize everybody. Not a fan of much in Washington these days, but I could support him over the other side because he's not crazy. He's not crazy. And Joe Biden and the Democrats have shown themselves to largely just be insane and angry and to have a dim view of the American people. Say what you will about Donald Trump, and I've said much. Donald Trump likes the American people. Donald Trump likes being an American. He's not ashamed of the United States of America. The Democrats constantly seem to express some level of shame and contempt for the United States. And Barack Obama made them comfortable hating the United States. Barack Obama made them comfortable feeling the need to apologize for American behavior. Barack Obama made the left comfortable voicing the idea that this country wasn't good, that it was systemically racist, that it was somehow unjust, that somehow we were too flawed to be a good people. And Donald Trump said, no, we're good people. The nation's got problems, but they aren't anything we can't overcome. Donald Trump is today again president of the United States. As I speak, he's sitting in the ceremonial office of the president inside the United States Capitol, this elaborate, ornate room where he is signing his name to the first documents of his new administration, certifying results, signing his pledge and his oath of office. He has a bipartisan delegation surrounding him. These Democrats insisted he was a threat to democracy, and too many Democrats believed it. They believed the shrill rhetoric. They believed the scary rhetoric. They believed the lies, and they have deeply, deeply, deeply become malcontented, insane people. They said Donald Trump's a threat to democracy, and Joe Biden pardons his family on the way out the door. They said Donald Trump would be an authoritarian. Joe Biden tried to tweet a constitutional amendment into existence, and they went along with it. I got to tell you, the Republicans should take note of the American Bar Association's embrace of that nonsense on Friday. They already don't particularly care for the American Bar Association, but they should recognize and acknowledge that the American Bar Association is too broken. The institutions of the left are too broken. In Donald Trump's speech today, in his inaugural address, he pointed out that Americans now lack trust in government. There's a deficit in competence. And when you have institutions like Georgetown Law School and the American Bar Association, and the former president of the United States and his minion coming out and declaring by tweet the Constitution has been amended in ways no one recognizes, you can see for yourself the competence that is not there. You can see for yourself why people don't trust the institutions. And the fact that the American Press Corps refuses to hold them accountable, the American Press Corps refuses to ask the tough questions, the American Press Corps refuses to hold anybody accountable, asking them the questions that need to be asked, shows they're in on it, and nobody trusts them either. It's not a coincidence that trust for the American media is now, for the first time, less than trust in Congress. How can you trust the people who claim to hold power accountable when they themselves have done everything they can to protect the power of Joe Biden and the left? How can you believe these people hold power accountable when they've done nothing but attack the middle class and the values of hardworking Americans and seed mythologies about systemic racism in this country? A new day dawns. What was is gone. What is will be. Donald Trump has 2 years. On the calendar 4, but people will start looking at the next election, the presidential election after 26, the midterms. He's got 2 years and he knows it. His team knows it. What separates Donald Trump apart now from other presidents who entered office is that he was there before. He knows the routine. He knows the rhythms. He knows the rhymes. He knows how to get the job done, which is why he'll sign 200 executive orders on day one. Joe Biden will probably be back at the Capitol within a year under an American flag. Donald Trump will be there for 4 under a flag flying over the White House. He has time to make real change. And we have time to watch the American left either appreciate that people stop trusting them or resign themselves to the ash heap of history. My hope is that the American people in 2 years realize the left is still too insane to give them back power. In the meantime, these next 2 years, Donald Trump has the power he needs to get done what he wants to do. Godspeed, Mr. President. Greetings, conversationalists. Welcome. It is Erick Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be delighted to have you. We've had a lot to cover here today. Right now, members of Congress are joining Donald Trump at lunch in the statuary hall inside the United States Capitol. Let me jump to the phones here. Dave has been waiting very patiently. Dave, welcome to the Erick Erickson Show. How are you? That is short, sweet, and to the point. Yeah, look, I like it. I do believe one of the hangups will be from both sides. Now, look, I like it. I don't dispute it, and I like the ordering of it. But I do kind of think that you'll have some members of both sides say, well, there will be situations where we know an indictment is coming, but they're dragging out the indictment. So, for example, look at the Trump situation. It was hey, under your expressed language, had Trump pardoned himself or anyone else related to January 6th, those indictments didn't come until after Biden came to office. Therefore, the pardon wouldn't have worked for them. So there will be some concern there. I personally think if we just paused it from November 1st of the year of a presidential election to January 21st, then every president would have to get his pardons out of the way before the election, and we could hold them accountable at the ballot box for their pardons without disrupting the whole of the Constitution. We want the president to have a pardon power, but yeah, maybe also make it clear that he can't pardon himself. That would also be good. Now, look, with all the turmoil out there, and now the economic circumstances of Trump coming back and tariffs and what they'll affect, Swiss America has been warning people about a secret war on cash. They would love to be able to help you consider this. Swiss America has been the trusted leader in precious metals for 40 years. They're rated A plus by the Better Business Bureau. They can educate you on protecting your assets in their report, The Secret War on Cash. It's a very interesting report to read, and it takes less than 15 minutes to get through it, digest it, understand it. They've written it very easy for you to understand a complicated topic, but they know how to digest it for you. All you have to do to get this free report is go to call or text 800-289-2646. Send them my name. Whether you call them or text them, just say Eric, Erick, in the text message, Eric. 800-289-2646. By the way, this applies to cryptocurrency too. Don't think you can escape this war on cash with cryptocurrency. You can't. The government's tracking you. 800-289-2646. That's 800-289-2646. Get the report completely for free. Message and data rates may apply. Greetings. It is Erick Erickson here. This momentous day, Donald Trump rejoins the White House as President of the United States. The crowd has gathered in Washington, D.C. For this event. They are praying before lunch begins. Trump is in front of, sitting this beautiful painting of what appears to be a sunrise. And I suspect that is the gift he is being given every time a president is elected. Congress gives the new president a personal gift. And my guess is that this painting will be his gift. I'm just guessing, though. This is a crowd of Democrats, Republicans, the CEOs of major tech companies. Carrie Underwood is there, having sung the America the Beautiful. The others who participated in the event, they're all there. Melania Trump looking beautiful as always. Nancy Pelosi, not there. Amy Klobuchar of the United States Senate is one of the hosts of the event. It's a bipartisan hosting. She is there on behalf of the Senate, sitting next to Donald Trump. Deb Fisher, Republican, on the other side of Melania Trump. It's an interesting bipartisan moment in Washington, D.C. Allow me, if you will, to just spend a few moments, and I'll get to phone calls here in a minute. 877-973-7425. I want to play for you some audio. This is David Axelrod on CNN.
Well, look, it's obviously a historic day. I think whatever you think about Donald Trump, you have to acknowledge this is probably the most astonishing comeback in American political history. I mean, when you think about how he left Washington 4 years ago.
4 years ago when he left.
There's no way you could have imagined this set of circumstances. He left in disgrace. He's come back as kind of a conqueror. That's the feel of this. And I do think, there's a lot of discontent in the country, a hangover from the pandemic, inflation, and people really wanted to give this town an angioplasty. The question is, how will it reflect itself and how he executes on this? And will he actually deliver the kind of relief that people are looking for? Or will he just hit the funny bone of the base on social issues while people's day-to-day lives don't change particularly? And that is going to be the challenge for Donald Trump.
Let me talk to everybody. There's a guy, he follows me. I follow him on social media. He's very upset with me. His name's Josh. If I point out any outrage from the Biden administration now, he immediately flies into what about Trump? What about this outrage? What about that outrage? Thinks that I love Donald Trump. It's very interesting this moment for people who can't stand Donald Trump. If you defend him or criticize the other side, you're not allowed to. You can't just say what you think. You're held to some standard you yourself did not set. You're either all in or all against Donald Trump. If you support Donald Trump because you think the other side is bad, well, you then are cursed or blessed, however you look at it, to own every sin and every blessing of that administration. If you're a Democrat, everybody gives you a pass. If you support Joe Biden, you don't own his pardons. You don't own his behaviors. You don't own the cover-up. But if you support Donald Trump, you're supposed to own every single thing. If you criticize him, well, your criticism falls on deaf ears. It actually is a remarkable double standard from people who wish not to be held to any standard of their own, but make others. And they're so freaking angry. Everybody is angry. The amount of people who think we have entered some next level emergency to our democracy, you know what actually happened? The people voted. And if you're mad about Donald Trump coming back to office, you should be mad at the Democrats for engaging in a cover-up. You should be mad at the Democrats for wrecking the economy. Do not blame the American people for how they voted. And I've seen this from people who hate Donald Trump. They blame the American people. The American people were stupid. The American people got duped. The American people were played. The American people are ungrateful. The American people are bad. They're corrupt, whatever. No, The American people, listen, I say all the time, people are stupid and people are voters. But collectively, you've got to trust them. That's the way the system works. And if you don't like it, you're no better than the people who you think want to impose a dictatorship. But there's something else happening out there right now. We are extraordinarily blessed as a people. We are the most prosperous country on planet Earth. At the household level, I think Democrats don't appreciate enough that people are struggling with gas prices, with rent prices, with insurance prices, with grocery prices. I don't think Democrats appreciate enough that people are struggling, that they want to lecture us on how great the economy is. And at the macroeconomic level, by the way, they're absolutely right. At the macroeconomic level, they're absolutely right. We are more prosperous than every other country. We have a greater ability to get better jobs in this country than anywhere else. We in the United States of America have a greater chance of succeeding in crawling up the ladder of promotions in corporate America than any other country. An entrepreneur in the United States has a greater chance of becoming wealthy than in any other country. But there are also people who feel like the American dream has left them behind. There are a lot of young people in this country who are very dissatisfied and very angry because they don't feel like they can get ahead. They don't want to live in their parents' basement, but they have no choice. Rent's too high, there's scarcity in housing. But also, I need you to really understand this. On both sides, left and right, if you are constantly angry, you've made a choice. If you are constantly in a state of dread over what's to come, you've made a choice. You made the wrong choice. I know people who are Donald Trump supporters who are angry about everything, and they're not even happy now that Donald Trump is elected. They're as angry as they were. They become the left, the woke right and the woke left, the progressive left, the progressive right. They're angry. They're angry about the state of the country. You know, you may be angry about the politics of the country. You may be mad at what Joe Biden did, but you're still extraordinarily blessed and still live in the greatest country on earth. Find some solace in that. And now Donald Trump's back. Be happy. And you know what? Donald Trump's not going to be able to get everything done you want him to do. Some of the things you want him to do, he's not going to do. Some of his promises he's going to break. Some of his promises he's going to break because maybe he didn't mean them. Some of the promises he's going to break because it takes multiple groups in Washington to tango. You got Congress, you got courts. Some of the things he wants to do, some judge somewhere this morning in San Francisco got up and ate their vegan bacon and their organic cereal and poured their cup of mushroom coffee to save the planet. And they're looking forward to going to work today to issue injunctions to stop Donald Trump's executive orders. You're not going to get your way on everything. You're going to get your way on a lot of stuff, but it's your choice to be angry about the stuff you didn't get done versus being happy about the stuff you did. In the same way on the left, it's your choice to be angry, and you guys are always angry. Your anger, if anything, alienated Americans. My pastor yesterday was preaching on the Sermon on the Mount. And he got to the verse about you are the salt. And he pointed out that in the first century, the salt was not so much the seasoning, the salt was the preservative. Those of you who are people of faith, you're preserving. And if you get swept up into the terror and the frenzy and the anger and the rage and the excitement of politics, you can't preserve. If you're hitching your wagon to that which will spoil and that which will rot, you can't preserve. If you are whipped into an existential frenzy over the here and the now, and the decisions that were made by Joe Biden, the decisions that will be made by Donald Trump, and your emotions ebb and flow based on those decisions. You're excited or you're angry. You're in the here and the now. You don't have an eternal worldview. You're looking at the immediacy, and the immediacy is always fleeting. Here we are. Now we're several seconds in the future. Now we're several more seconds in the future. Now even further in the future. The moment you were excited about was 15, 20 seconds ago. The moment you're excited about may come tomorrow and it'll be fleeting. And you're going to design and package your emotions and your excitement and your anger and your rage around those things. You're contributing to the problem. It's a choice to be always outraged, to be never happy. It's also a choice to say, the voters have spoken. I cannot control this. It's your choice to say, God's got a plan. And I'll put my trust in him and not in people, not in princes and principalities, but in God Almighty himself. And therefore, I cannot be angry about those things that happen because God's got a plan and all things work for the good of those called according to his purpose. All things are possible through Christ who strengthens me. Cite the verses. God is sovereign. He's in charge. There's no reason to be wept into terror or frenzy or even super excitement. You can certainly find things to laugh about and be happy about and be excited about. Your guy won, their guy lost, one guy's gone, the new guy's here. But to always and every day wake up mad, get online because you want to be mad, or get online because you want to be constantly excited by it. If your excitement is the headline of the day, your guy won, your guy's going to eventually lose. Is that now going to turn your excitement into dread, into terror? None of us in this country used to put so much stock in politics, and too many people do now. And too many people are letting the politics of the age determine their state of mind, their level of happiness or sadness, their level of dread or their level of excitement. And it's unhealthy. After COVID and people trapped inside and looking at politicians for some reason to save us instead of us save ourselves, a lot of people, particularly on the left, started having mental health issues. It's still on full display. You see it in the protesters upset that Donald Trump won a fair and square, democratically called election within our republic. If you can't find joy today because Donald Trump is president, if you can't just let it be, if you gotta what about it, if you gotta scream and rage, and if you don't lack the honesty to acknowledge the problems of the other side, you might need to step back and unplug and take a break because you're clearly suffering mentally and you probably don't even know it. If your excitement or your dread is set by the headlines of the day, you are being driven by currents you can't control, and you will eventually go over the waterfall. Or you can step back and you can say, yay, my guy won. Or boo, my guy lost. And then go on with your life where you love your neighbors, you go to your job, you do your work, you come home at the end of the day, you enjoy the football game or the hockey game or the basketball game, or you wait for baseball to start again, and you just live your life, not in existential dread and terror because of the headlines of the day, but because you're an American citizen. You live in the best country on the planet. No matter whether you've had a good day or a bad day, your guy won or your guy lost. You're an American, and that's something to be happy about. And at the end of the day, if even that doesn't give you pleasure and comfort and get you to stop being angry, God's got this. He's in charge. His will be done, not your own. And if you can't find comfort and joy in that, stop worshiping idols, because that then is your problem. God's got this. Win or lose, his will be done, not your own. And that should give you peace and calm. And if it doesn't, you got real problems. Maybe you need a therapist. Or maybe you just need to delete the internet from your phone and actually get to know the live human being who lives next to you, because you probably have isolated yourself. And that isolation So much of it happening during COVID is what has caused so many of our problems today. There's a lot to be happy about. Whether you're happy with the election or not, there's so much for you to appreciate. We live in the United States of America, people. There are people willing to die to get to this country. They want to be here so bad, and you were born into it. You should be happy because you have been blessed to be an American. And today, we had the 60th inauguration of a president of the United States. And guess what? The sun is going to come up tomorrow, just like it did today. You will be fine. But maybe your computer won't be, which is why you need to go to Vision Computers and check with them to see if you need an upgrade to your hardware. They can give it to you. They can work with you. VisionComputers.com or 404 Compute. Any one of you nationwide can go to Vision Computers and ask them to build you a new computer. They'll save you money, and they'll give you a bleeding edge computer that can work with AI. The GPU, the CPU, the RAM, everything will be up to date. And then you get their 5-star tech support for free, complimentary with the computer. They can even take your existing hard drive and transfer everything over. So your settings, your preferences, your apps, everything is there just like you had it on the old computer, as if nothing's different, except it's faster, it's more responsive, it doesn't have the viruses or the glitches, and you have vision on the side. If ever anything happens, you can call them in 15 seconds or less. You get the answer to what's going on with your computer. Call them at 404 Compute today. Begin your new technology update today with Vision Computer. Any one of you nationwide can take advantage of this. 404 Compute or visioncomputers.com. And if you call them at 404 Compute and you tell them Erick sent you, you're going to save even more money. I don't care whether you're in Kalispell, Montana, whether you're in Miami, Florida, Vision Computer can work with you. 404 Compute or visioncomputers.com. Welcome back. It's Erick Erickson here. I'm going to go to Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. Elon Musk is on stage. I got to reroute my audio here so you guys can hear Elon Musk, not he. He is super excited to be on stage. Well, they're cutting away from his coverage on TV. The Elon Musk there about to announce Donald Trump is going to be an indoor parade. Now, here's one of the interesting dichotomies that's out there today is that normally the parade would go down Pennsylvania Avenue, but it is very cold. The wind chill is a factor in D.C., but most of the crowd there is saying it's actually a security concern. What I find very interesting are the number of reporters belittling Trump supporters saying they say it's security, those Hicks and Rubes, but we all know Donald Trump just doesn't want to be in the cold. That's what he said. It was the cold. How do you know it's not a security concern? I mean, given the antics of the left, it wouldn't surprise me if it actually was a security concern because it is really hard, even for the Secret Service. They don't like to have presidents marching down Pennsylvania Avenue. Every 4 years, it's a security concern, and the Secret Service every 4 years tries to discourage presidents from doing the parade down Pennsylvania Avenue. But the snotty members of the press belittling people for suggesting it really was security when it probably is something. And also, why squabble over this? He won. He's president. Members of the press are not having a normal one right now. They're still upset that their covering for Joe Biden didn't work, and they know accountability is coming, even if it's in the crash of their ratings and the loss of their jobs. I'm Erick Erickson. This was my show. I'll be back tomorrow with full coverage of this.